Hello and welcome to another entry in Kalkine Media's Invest Nest webinar series. Now, this webinar is called Insights from 3 ASX mining companies amid commodity price swings. My name is Rachel Jones. I'm anchor and reporter with Kalkine TV. I'll be your moderator for today. Now, before going ahead with the session, it's important you're aware that this webinar is for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or a recommendation to engage in any investment activity under discussion. We're neither licensed nor qualified to provide investment advice through this platform. Now, the key idea of InvestNest webinar is to present our audience with a panel of experts who will share the potential of their businesses and their growth strategies along with their company's value and vision. We uncover the unheard stories from business leaders on how they work towards success. This event aims at sharing heaps of insightful business information and guidance on emerging themes and breakthrough trends in the Australian markets. The business presentation will be for around 15 minutes by each speaker and followed by a Q&A round. The webinar attendees can post their questions in the Q&A chat box during the webinar. Now, unfortunately, due to time constraints, we're unable to take your questions live, but they can be sent to us at info@kalkinemedia.com. This webinar will delve into the exciting prospects that lie ahead for gold and copper mining companies. Now, first off, we have CGN Resources. Their ticker code is CGR. They're a mineral exploration company focused on the discovery of gold, copper, nickel, and specialty metals. The company is making steady progress in advancing and promises new targets across its key projects. Now, that's the Webb project in the West Arunta origin of Western Australia, the Christmas Well project, and the Panhandle project near Leonora. Secondly, there's the Far East Gold Company. Their ticker code is FEG. They're an ASX-listed copper and gold exploration company with a portfolio of 6 advanced projects across Australia and Indonesia. The company is currently undertaking an extensive drilling program at its Idenburg gold project in Papua, Indonesia, and it's aimed at expanding its resource base and unlocking further exploration potential. Next up is Viking Mines. Their ticker code is VKA. A diversified developer and explorer focused on precious and critical metals. The company is actively advancing its first hit gold project and Canegrass battery minerals project in WA. So I'm happy to introduce our speakers for the day. We have Stan Holy, Managing Director of CGN Resources, Mr. Shane Menere, CEO and Director of Far East Gold, and Mr. Julian Woodcock, Managing Director of Viking Mines. Mr. Shane Menere, CEO and Director of Far East Gold. Now, Shane is a seasoned leader with over 25 years of experience managing large-scale resource and infrastructure projects around the world. Shane has a strong track record in guiding projects from exploration through to operation and has spent more than 15 years supporting major mining operations across the Asia-Pacific region. Now, Shane, if you would like to share your presentation with us, please.
Well, thank you very much, Kalkine Media, and thank you everyone for attending and listening to the Far East Gold story. For those of you who have been following our story, you'll know that we March 2022, and we were one of the most successful IPOs during that year. Of course, you know, we enjoyed a pretty heated time and shot all the way up to 67 cents. Before coming back down and you know, hitting the grindstone with a lot of others also competing for the same media platform and stage and investment funds. So we've been fortunate enough to attract some very good investors over the months and now years, and put us in a quite a good position. I believe I'll cover shortly in terms of attracting strategic partners and investors alike. So jumping straight in, we've got a portfolio of 6 advanced projects in Indonesia and Australia, Queensland. In fact, over $50 million has been spent on these assets over the period of time that we've had them, and 63,000 meters of drilling has occurred. Now, that was partly due to us and others prior to us. We've got a very experienced board, and what's very important when you're multi-jurisdictional, as we are in a place like Indonesia, is to have experience in Indonesia. There is a general consensus of a higher risk in Indonesia. I've been up there about 17 years or so, a little bit longer, in fact. And when you know the lay of the land and you know how to do business up there, it's really quite smooth and quite enjoyable. It's a good landscape to do business. And not only that, the government has changed its policy in terms of centralising a lot of decision making in the mining sector. The government is very clear that mining and the natural resources in Indonesia are significant, and they nurture the business associated with mining development really very closely. So we've got a good relationship with mining departments and local and central government alike. There is potential on a couple of our sites to go into a production position in the near future. Moving into that environment is on the radar right now. So we've always positioned ourselves as an exploration company, and we're good at exploration, and we're good at the commercial aspect of pulling some positions together in the mining space. Myself, I've got quite a bit of experience getting sites into production. In fact, I was supporting many larger sites throughout Asia Pacific for many years prior to starting Far East Gold, and consequently really quite comfortable to make that transition into production. Now, we're not steering away from exploration. We know that there's exploration to be done, but now that we've pulled in some very good strategic partners that I'll discuss in a moment, with plenty of experience down that path from greenfield into production, it's a natural progression for us to go down that path. We've raised, as you can see, a number of times, been oversubscribed when we did the initial IPO, and a number of placements along the way to keep the pace that we're blistering along at. And what's important is Xinye, being a Chinese company, one of the biggest producers of silver and tin in the world, and I believe that with the recent acquisition, they're now the biggest silver producer in the world, and the third in tin, I believe. Don't quote me on that one, but it's along those lines quite closely. Now, they committed $14.7 million to take a 19.99% strategic position with Far East Gold, and we're very excited to have them on. As I mentioned, they are really quite well experienced in getting greenfields into production. In fact, their chairman, Mr. G, who we've got a great relationship with, sees the story playing out again. For him, this is how he did it. He started with acquisitions, got into exploration, and took them into production. So we're developing a very nice partnership environment to go down into that path. We have some significant blue sky opportunities across our tenements. World-class jurisdictions. They're located in Indonesia and in Queensland, of course. And the last point I'll just mention as well, we do have a second strategic investor who is most interested in Trenggalek, which I'll explain in a moment as well. And that's Eurasian Resources Group, which is a multi-billion-dollar private company, mostly owned by the Kazakhstan government. And they saw the value in one of our tenements in Java, being Trenggalek. Top 20, 61%. And much as my predecessor just mentioned, we really haven't moved that dial too much as well. The people that came in the beginning have stayed with us, and obviously, they diluted a little when our strategic investors came in, but largely they've stayed on and followed their cash position up. And you can see our top 10 shareholders in there. I'm running in there at number 6 now, or number 7. And Justin Werner as chairman is their number 5 position. So we've positioned ourselves to stay in that top 10 and following our position as well, with the directors being over 12% holding their position. Quick overview on the board. Justin Werner, you may have heard that name before. He's Nickel Industries CEO and founder, or co-founder, I should say. He's been very successful at creating a multi-billion-dollar nickel company in Indonesia. So that's a producing company, obviously. He's paved the way. Justin and I have known each other for many years, and when I had this great idea to start Far East Gold, being the original founder and co-founder with a couple of guys, I pulled Justin across, and we've developed it along with Paul Walker, who was the chairman for quite some time as well. And now that Justin stepped in, we're positioning ourselves to emulate that model, the Nickel Industries model, which is again taking greenfield and through production. Next director you may be interested in represents Shenyang. That's Monique Tang. She's actually an Australian Chinese, and she's been fantastic, supporting us and getting us into that strategic partnership environment. One of our largest vendors in through our tenements has a board position represented by Michael Thurnbeck, a geo who's been operating up in Indonesia for many years, over 25 years, I believe. Paul Walker, as I mentioned, was the original chairman with me when we co-founded the company, and Dr. Chris Atkinson is a geo entrepreneur, been operating in Indonesia for also 25 years, I believe, and he's been instrumental on some of our decision making commercially to get into the position we are. By way of summary of the tenements themselves, we've got Woyla. You may have heard of the Gosowong mineralization or project that's up in Halmahera in Indonesia, really quite a famous one. We're considering Woyla to be very similar, geologically speaking, and we've done a lot of exploration up there, 3 phases of drilling, and we suspect that at some point, we've made many discoveries. We've hit some very good grades of gold, and we've hit some very thick seams as well. There's about 26,000 meters of strike length that we've uncovered up there, but we're stitching it all together and looking at what a JORC is going to look like as we bring it all through and together. Idenburg is our latest acquisition. This one is something that I've had my eye on for quite a number of years, and it's the same vendor that we worked with Woyla. She was so happy with us, what we've managed to achieve in Woyla, that we stepped in commercially as the next step with Idenburg. We took some historic data and relocated drill collars and did quite a bit of on-ground work to produce a maiden JORC up at Idenburg late last year, 540,000 ounces at 4.1 grams per tonne. Now, we also did an exploration target, and taking into the 14 known prospects at the time, but we've added another one in terms of a new discovery, taking it to 15 prospects. That gives us an exploration target of 7.2 million ounces at 6.1 grams per tonne. So we're talking about something of global significance if we can produce the drill tip results as good as we're hoping to and certainly anticipating. Now, so far, what we have produced on that maiden JORC of 540,000 ounces across 3 prospect areas, being Sua, Bermol, and Mafi. Now, those prospect areas are showing exactly in line with what those exploration targets were estimated to be. And everyone knows that exploration targets can be a bit of a crapshoot at times. We've been conservative with how this has been calculated, and what we're seeing is that each prospect is in line with the drill tip is telling us. So, really exciting stuff. If we're going to approach those sorts of numbers, we're talking about something of world-class significance, as I mentioned. We are currently in the phase of acquiring our 51% of that project right now as we speak. So what we have to do there is do $5 million worth of exploration work, which we have well underway, and as soon as we've satisfied that condition, we have 51%. We currently control the project contractually, and we're very happy with our partner and vendor being the same one as Woyla, as I already mentioned. So I think I skipped over, we're already owning 51% of Woyla, and we're making our way through to the 80% position and possibly even up to the 100% position very soon. Trenggalek is a large-scale porphyry system in Java. There is some epithermals there as well. We're drawing a direct comparison with the Tujuh Bukit project, which is about 80 kilometres as a crow flies to the east, and that hosts 30 million ounces of gold, equivalent 18 or 19 billion pounds of copper. So it's a monster. It's got to be more than one of them in Indonesia, and we're hoping that we've got it there, geologically speaking, right next door. That was originally owned by a lot of the bigger players, and Anglo was trying to get and drill their prospect at Sumba Bening, which at the moment, which they unfortunately didn't get to. Now, we, with our local knowledge and network and so forth, have been able to make that acquisition, take 100% of Trenggalek, and we're currently in the final stages of drill planning there. It has been drilled, some test drilling has been done, but the number one areas have never been tested, and that's our number one priority, to go in there ASAP and prove that up. And then finally, Wonogiri and Mount Clark West. Wonogiri has got 1.15 million ounces with 996,000 ounces of gold, and the AUEQ is 1.15 million ounces. Now, it's open at depth. We believe it's got some really interesting upside there. There is a structural corridor that runs through to the southeast, and that's it could show bigger and better science as we do a little bit more work through there. We do own 100% of Wonogiri at the moment. Now, Mount Clark West is one of our Queensland tenements. It's a porphyry system in the Drummond Basin area. We own 90% of that as we speak, and we think that it's worth drilling. We've applied for the Queensland CEI grant. Hopefully we get some good news on that very, very soon. But either way, we're going to drill that and pop 3 drill holes in that one, and hopefully we're going to see some good mineralization. It has been drill tested previously by a prior owner, but it appears that they clipped the edge of a porphyry system. So we've now got some better modeling, done some geophysics, done some BIMDAS, all the IP work, and we suggest that we're on the right path this time around. Just a quickie on Shanye, our strategic partner. They are a 19.99% shareholder, as I said. They saw the value in Far East Gold, so much so that at the time they paid quite a premium to come in fact, about a 47% premium. As I said, they saw the value, so that really speaks to the confidence of quite a successful company, the confidence in their investment in Far East Gold coming in, and their intention to take us through our next phase project development and into operation. They are working very closely with our geo team and a few of our people in management, including myself, to cover our exploration plans and take a look at how we can improve our systems and processes and results. This is a recent meeting we had up there, a strategic alignment meeting and so forth. The other one is the Eurasian Resources Group, who I mentioned, with a particular interest in Trenggalek, and they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation as well, and one of the biggest cobalt producers in the world. So I've spoken a little bit about the projects, and I'll just keep to the slide deck, but I've already said quite a bit on these things, so I don't want to bore too many people. But the Idenburg project is our flagship project, and it's huge. It's 95,000 hectares. It's sitting in an amazing jurisdiction in the Papua area, but that's still the Indonesian side of the PNG island. Now, to the southwest is Freeport. Everyone's heard about Freeport's 100 million ounces there. Also to the southwest is Wabu, which is quite a well-known project area for those in the know in Indonesia. Going over the border is Oktedi in PNG, which has 20 million ounces, Wafi 30 million ounces, Lihir 60 million ounces, Freda River and Porgera and onwards. So we're really in an amazing jurisdiction, and that particular project of ours sits right in the middle of that neighbourhood. As I mentioned, we've got 15 prospect areas identified. There was 14. We found a new one, which I'll talk about briefly in the next slide or two. Owned by the previous companies developing the project with the likes of Newmont, Newcrest, and Placidome and Avocet, and they've done quite an extensive amount of work up there. Now, how we you might be asking yourselves, why are we different, and how is it that we ended up with these tenements and these bigger guys didn't? Price of gold was certainly a determining factor. A number of years ago, at the time when some of these bigger companies were in a controlling position of these tenements. Being well connected and knowing how to do business in the region is pulling in local partners, pulling them in on the journey, and developing the assets with the local government has been the key to our success. Bringing the community on the ride, the journey with us has been really the key in how we've turned this into a very good support network of community, industry leaders, and government, all helping, all supporting, all behind Far East Gold to develop the projects. As I mentioned, 7.2 million ounces at 6.1 grams per tonne. Wouldn't it be great if we can achieve that? But the plan is to methodically go through each of the project areas and drill test them. We can acquire up to 100% of Idenburg as well, with some earning commitments. As I mentioned, $5 million is our first step. Now, we're very well funded, certainly with Shenye coming in, and currently our cash position is around about 12.5 million still in the bank. So plenty of funds to do all the exploration work that we want to do across the entire portfolio. We do have a very busy portfolio, I will admit that, but we've got a very good team in place to manage that, and a good plan moving forward through the rest of this year to really create some value for these assets. This is the Idenburg program. You can see the particular prospect areas here. If you can see my cursor, there's the Mafi area, the Sua area, and the Bermol area. These are the three that produce the 540,000 ounces. These are the three that we're going to test extensions on, running north-south, northeast, southeast, southwest. We also have made, sorry, I missed one, Kwapulu. You can see my cursor over here. That's an untested area other than rock chip sampling and outcropping sampling and so forth. We think this one's pretty special. We've seen very, very good grades through here. Yeah, we looked at 50s and 60 grams per ton through Kwapulu. And some of the Burmol grades are running at the 20s and the 30s, and the Maffeys and the Sewers around certainly the mid-teens to upper teens as well. So we intend to drill those 4 particular prospect areas, 32 holes at 3,670 meters. Now, this is elephant country. We do have a main road that runs straight down through the middle of Idenburg. Utilising that good logistics and getting the machines, the drill rigs, in those particular prospect areas. Now, it runs close to, you can see it there, actually, relatively close to Maffei. So we're going to start our base camp and so forth in that Maffei area and start the drilling further down Maffei and Burmol. So we expect that this will be a number of months, 4 to 5 months of full exploration work. But the good news is that in Indonesia, assay results come back very, very quickly, and drill rigs can move also very quickly in terms of demand for exploration. It's not as high as in Australia and so forth. So we get things moving very quick. And in fact, we have drill rigs on the water as we speak to go up and do that second round of drilling, the first for Far East Gold. The new discovery area. We just released an announcement about this last week, and we called it the East Burmol system. It's showing 5-meter thick veins and some really lovely grades in through there. The initial rock chip samples of 8.5 grams per ton and almost 32 grams of silver. In that particular area around there, the Burmol, North Burmol area, recent grab samples are showing those very high grades there, 53 grams a ton, 19, 16, and the 8 that I already mentioned. Really interesting stuff that we're seeing at Idenburg. We're quite excited about it. You can see the map on where it's located. This new project area here, and you can see some photos of our geo team in there with that. And you can see that it's a country, but we do have the ability for access to get in there. No helicopters required on these ones that we've chosen. There will be some areas in the future that would benefit from helicopter work, but not at this stage, and certainly not with what we're trying to produce and show right now. The exploration target, right down the bottom right-hand corner, 7.259 at 6.1 grams per ton. I've said that a couple of times. On the other side of things, you've got a much lower range at 189,000 ounces. Now, we've already proven that to be much higher at 540,000 ounces. So this was done before the JORC was produced. But those exploration targets always show a very big spread. So obviously, we're shooting for the upper range. Our drill plan in place takes us down that path, and our pre has shown that the Sumat, Burmol, and Maffei areas producing what we expected to see there. Trenggalek in Central Java, East Java, I should say, and very close to that other Tujuh Bukit project that I just mentioned with 3 million ounces of gold. This is a operational permit, so technically we can go in and operate this one immediately. Now, it's not as easy as all of that, of course, because it's we've got to do the exploration. We've got to get to that point where we can prove it's certainly a worthy project. It has had extensive exploration before, 17 doing extensive geochem rock chip sampling, IP work, our plan is to take all of that and do ourselves in that Sumba Benning area, which, as I mentioned, was that #1 prospect target for Anglo, and prove that up as a good mineralized porphyry system. You can see that this has been identified as one of the top 3 projects by the Indonesian government. So it really lends itself to a high quality project, and certainly being supported by the local government, local and central governments. Now, we recently did a structural analysis of Trenggalek, and that gave us some good ideas about where to go and what to do, but most importantly, which particular prospect areas to prioritise. So, independent of Anglo's original assessment of Sumba Benning, you can see there up in the top left-hand northwest corner, that pinky ellipse. So independent of their thinking, we've done our own work, and our geo teams come up with a very similar conclusion. We tested that theory yet again and ran that up with ERG, Eurasian Resources Group, and they've come back again with a very similar intention or priority to go into the Sumba Benning area first. So 1,400 meters, and it's just the 2 holes. So they're 2 relatively deep holes to test that porphyry system. So it'll be a total of 18 holes for 5,740 meters. Now, the reason we've got so many holes is because that Bularoto area, we believe, is a porphyry underneath an epithermal system. So something's got to be feeding that epithermal. So there has been quite a bit of drilling done in that area before, shallow on the epithermal, and we're going to continue to test that extension, and we're going to drop a couple of deeper holes and test for the porphyry system as well. And then Singahan, which has been previously drilled, showing 0.6% copper. We are going to drop a couple more holes there again and test for a slightly different area, but test for mineralization there again. We think between ourselves and ERG, we've come up with a good potential target, and those holes will be tested very, very soon. As I mentioned, the Sumba Benning prospect, and we're likening that, I think I've already mentioned a couple of times now, to the Tujuh area. You can see those particular rock samples showing very similar textures to what is being found at the Tujuh area, which is, again, that 30 million ounces of equivalence in gold. It's fundamentally a porphyry system, the same as Trenggalek, but you see the bottom 3 samples there are from Tujuh, the top 3 are from the Sumba Benning area in Trenggalek. And this is for anyone who's interested. I'm sure this presentation can be shared, but this is where our actual drill tip is going to go, and this obviously can be the resistivity and chargeability of the IP work that we've done. And this is in the Singahan area, the 2 drill holes there. And then you can see also there's a number of more shallow holes that will eventually pop in there as well. And the Bularoto area, this is the epithermal system, if my cursor is showing up, and then a couple of deeper holes that will drop being displayed on the right. Bit of a better display there, obviously, on the right of the epithermal drilling and so forth. The Wonogiri prospect or project is a 1.15 million ounce equivalent JORC resource with 996,000 ounces of gold and about 190 million pounds of copper. There's been over 21,000 meters of drilling that's already been done on that project, and that project is a very sound project, and we're in the final stages of doing a scoping study on it now. And we're seeing that it's looking like a very economical project, especially in the environment that we're in for gold at the moment. It is open to depth. 458 meters was the last intercept, still mineralized and still open. There's a number of epithermal veins around that particular area as well that are certainly worth testing. Now, what we're doing with this particular project is, as I mentioned, finalising that scoping study and getting to a point of much better understanding of what to do here. We're also extending the exploration permit as well as we speak, which is looking quite positive. The 3D modelling, 3D of tips, and you can see that little blob down there in the bottom mineralisation at that 408 meters. Now, the Woyla project. If you are following the Far East Gold story, you for sure would have heard of the Woyla project. We have done about 26,000 meters. I'm sorry, 21,000, just under 21,000 meters of drilling there, 133 holes. As I mentioned, we're showing some great grades there, which is 81 grams per tonne, 24 grams per tonne, 28 and 38, just to name a few. We're also seeing those big, thick seams. What we haven't managed to do at this particular point is to stitch all of that together and find those big, thick seams with those high grades. We're finding the high grade pocketed areas, and we did a really detailed scout drilling program across these veins, testing them agnostically, not chasing the grade, not chasing those pockets, but just trying to understand that system, because it's quite a complex system up in the Aceh area. So we've been really successful in developing a very good database of and understanding of the project area. So we're taking a deep breath. We're looking at what that looks like in terms of extending the exploration permits, in terms of what that means for going into a feasibility study and so forth. So that's where we're positioning ourselves now. We are an exploration company at this particular point. We are also a relatively small team, and there's just so much we can do. So we're focusing our efforts on Idenburg and Trenggalek as the number 1 or 2 drilling priorities, and doing some desktop and study work on our last year's work at Woyla itself. So we plan to move that into an 80% position of ownership now that we've done our exploration, satisfied all of our earning commitments and so forth. And we'll continue working that towards a maiden JORC. Oh, that's just a summary, of course, of Woyla. Nothing I haven't already said in there. The Australian projects. Far East Gold has Mount Clark West and Blue Hill Creek. Mount Clark West, as I summarised, is a copper porphyry system that we intend to drill properly this year in the not too distant future. And Blue Hill Creek is 3 tenements in the Mount Coolin area, gold tenements. So we're in a very good neighbourhood there, right by GBM Resources. Mount Clark West, just by way of review, again, I've already spoken quite a bit about it in the opening remarks. It's a copper gold molybdenum system, exploration target between 400 million tonnes and 650 million tonnes, 0.4% to possibly 0.6% copper. So that's nothing to be turn your nose up at. It's really quite a good system. We've got high hopes on Mount Clark West. We've just never been in a position to drill it previously. We've always been focusing in on the Indonesian projects, but it's been my intention to bring a little bit of attention back to the Australian projects this year, which is exactly what we'll do. So we'll drop a couple of drill holes in there, and 3 drill holes in fact, and see what we come up with. So 1,800 meters. 3 by 600 to test those 3 particular areas there. We think there's 3 porphyry centres in Mount Clark West. We're drawing a comparison, by the way, to the Cadia North Parks district area in New South Wales. Now, that's quite a big call, but all those characteristics that we're seeing are very similar. And by way of a summary, so Far East Gold, we've got a substantial global JORC in position already with 1.536 million ounces of gold, JORC compliant. So potential increase that significantly. I don't know if I mentioned it already, but the plan is with Idenburg, with this current drilling program, to take it from its 540,000 ounce resource to 1.5 million ounces. So we think we can achieve that with this particular drilling program. That's certainly our target. And then obviously what we see at Trenggalek and what we see at Mount Clark West will be huge bonus as well, but we won't be able to take those to a JORC. They're going to be testing for mineralization in those porphyry systems. Very well funded, good drilling programs in place, good exploration plans to increase shareholder value. That's balance sheet for us is, it couldn't have come at a better time in terms of having that funding behind us and having those strategic partners in place. We think it's transformative on who we are as a company, and we expect to really gain momentum down this path of project development this year, certainly in the latter part of this year as we start to see the results come in from Idenburg. And of course, not to be forgotten, the market conditions at the moment of gold are great. In fact, I think it went up another $100 today, if I'm not wrong. 3,300. I think I dropped down a bit earlier. So we're in the right place. We're in the right space. We're in the right jurisdictions, and we've got the right partners, and we're certainly well funded. So we think we're in a really good position. Very exciting times ahead for Far East Gold. Thanks, Rachel.
It's great to see the projects you have going on in Indonesia, but also to see the plans for Australia too. And you're right, we have a lot of resilience in our gold prices at the moment. So that's something to be very happy about. Thanks once again, Shane, for that presentation there. Now, we have had some questions come through from our audience. So Shane, Jessica wants to know, what makes the Idenburg project significant?
The jurisdiction where it sits geologically it's got a long history of proven high-grade positioning there. Now, as I went through a little bit earlier, the Freeport site and the Porgera, Lihir, all surrounding that particular area have proven very, very high grades and very high volumes as well. That the resources in there are absolutely world class. So we've already proven that there's very high grades, and we're well on a track to proving that there's greater than 1 million ounces. We're 540,000 ounces now. So the drill plan that we've got in place should take us, certainly with a target of around about 1.5 million ounces, and we're still looking at between that 4 or 4.1 as it currently stands, our JORC, up to the exploration target at 6.1. So somewhere in there is where we suspect our average grade is going to be. and the target is 1.5 million ounces. So only 30% of that particular project area has been mapped. In that area, 15 prospects are very clear and have been detailed and tested and so forth, and 3 of them drilled. So if all remains constant and right across that tenement, there's mineralization, there'll be a number of other prospect areas that we can add onto that current 15 number. And it'll keep us going and exploring and developing for years to come. But look, our plan is to utilize Idenburg as the flagship, and look into studying what production might look like in parallel to exploration. Now, with our partners are really interested in Idenburg as well, and so we're going down that path of project development and even looking at what production might look like in the not too distant future. We'd do that in parallel with further exploration.
And one of our viewers wants to know, how do you see Indonesia's role in FEG's growth?
Well, we couldn't do it without them. Look, I'm passionate about Indonesia. Like I said, I've been up there for 17, almost 18 years, I think it is now. The country's been very good to me. The people are wonderful. The workers up there are second to none. I'd put them against Western trained mining people any day. They're very good quality. The universities are producing mining engineers and metallurgists at a much higher rate than anywhere else on the planet. It's a industry that's being heavily supported by government. So it's just one of those jurisdictions which is mining friendly, and more importantly, it's welcoming foreign direct investment. In fact, it's actively promoting it. And President Prabowo is continuing the policy of his predecessor, Jokowi, not making any changes to the political landscape, and in fact, doubling down a little bit. His family is heavily involved in mining, has been for decades, and we suspect that that'll open a few doors for us as well with the government support.
Fantastic. And just finally, what's your vision for FEG over the next 12 months?
12-month vision? We've got some big plans. Boy, have I got a list of achievements that I need to get done. But Idenburg, obviously, is the big one. I've got the earning commitment to over a 24-month period to put $5 million into the ground. So we're well funded to do that and to do everything that we want to do. Now that'll take us through to a much higher ownership position, and look, eventually I'd like to try and get that through to an 80% ownership position. And I'd like to have a good study done on what the metallurgies look like up there. We've already done some preliminary work, and under gravity alone, it looks like 55 to 60 odd %, and with CIL plant, upwards of 94 to 95, possibly a touch higher in there as well. But proper studies done to tell us what those recoveries are going to look like, what some mine planning might look like, how much community support there is to go into production, although it's certainly all indications are that the community is right behind us and the government is right behind us. So if we can get all of those things done at Idenburg, I'll be a happy man. But we've also got Trenggalek. Now, if we can have some successful drill tip results there, in particular at Sumber Benning, around about those 0.5, 0.6% coppers, that's happy days, and puts Trenggalek in a possible tier 1 position as well with what we're seeing up there. And then, of course, Mount Clark West back in Australia. I want to get those drill tips turning and show a favourable result. Clipping the edge of that porphyry system has been proven. Now that we've got a better understanding through IP work, we suspect that we're going to have a much higher probability of going right down the middle of that porphyry system and getting some better mineralization there. So they're the three on my hit list to achieve this year.
We're all good. I think we've definitely given a very insightful presentation here. So with that, I would like to thank all of you so much for attending today. Thank you so much. On behalf of Kalkine Media, I'd like to extend my gratitude for addressing our audience with your insights and also patiently waiting for your other colleagues to speak. I'd also like to thank our audience for attending the webinar. We hope you found this session informative. If you do want to delve further into equity and market updates, audiences can visit our media site at www.kalkinemedia.com/au. Also, you can visit our equity research website at kalkine.com.au. Stay tuned with Kalkine Media for the upcoming InvestNest webinar series. I hope to see you all again soon, and best of luck with the future. Thank you so much.